Mario Hyman is the creative force behind Roundhouse Hymanic Music Productions, who weaves a rich tapestry of music, film and history. And he's on the line with us here just now. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
So, can you tell us a bit about yourself and your journey in the music industry, as well as a bit about your background, because you're a retired school counsellor, historian and filmmaker as well?
I'm from the Lower East Side of Manhattan, New York City, and I started playing music since I was about 10 years old. I played the piano. I found that I had an aptitude for instruments. My mom played the blues harmonica, and she taught me how to play the blues harmonica. And they bought an organ for me, and then I started playing all the hymns, and I knew all the hymns by heart from the church. So they obviously I started to I could play music. My parents noticed that, so I started playing the piano from there, and then went to guitar, and so I fumble around with a lot of different instruments. That's what I do. That's how it started. 10 years old, you have to ask me.
And you've got a recent single called Tel Aviv to Gaza, Gaza to Tel Aviv, and
Yes.
it's garnered attention for its powerful message. So what was it that inspired you to create the song?
I'm 62 years old, so I got to see, a lot of conflicts, different wars, especially the Vietnam War. I have, friends and family that were in that war, and they used to tell me about the atrocious things that used to happen, back in the 60s, and me watching television, I would see all kind of horrible things, like children, especially children. It always got to me, and I hate to hear that because we all know war is ugly. So anyway, I'm glued to CNN and MSNBC, and I see the atrocities, on both sides. I see it's horrible. So I just was compelled to write about it, not taking any sides, or of the issues, just the innocent people. That's who I have in mind, the innocent civilians that do not have a dog in this war or in this fight. They don't have a dog in this fight. So I want to shine a light by my song about these things that are happening in Gaza, and happening in Israel, and the how the war has impacted the lives of people, and who just trying to scratch out a living and trying to live, on both sides. This is horrible. And I encourage, like at the end of the song, I mentioned, I still believe in peace. I believe there is a solution, and I believe we should start moving in the direction of a ceasefire.
What overall message do you hope to convey through the song?
Well, the overall message that I hope to convey through the song is just, as I mentioned before, it's peace. I'm hoping, that they can get together and resolve this conflict. I know it's difficult. A lot of people, they don't like to, there's a lot of anger. This has been going on a long time, and this is nothing new. But when people are killed, these are all, we have this generation here, that some generation, in that area, that region, that are used to this sort of thing. But this is a little different because now, we can see this. They don't try to hide this now. Now we have so much media that, they go right into these different regions, and we can see the bloodshed and, the carnage. So my message, and my hope is that they can resolve these issues and bring peace finally to the region. These people can be liberated, on both sides, and have some semblance of freedom, and it's difficult, I know, because like I said, this goes back a while back, and, I just hope that Americans, I live in, United States, that they can mediate, and bring these two sides together. And, and this other faction that does not want peace, just you have to separate them from the people that do want peace. And you can't lump them all up into the same bag. And I mentioned that, in my song, you have to make that separation, with, precision. I know, war is ugly. War is unpredictable, but you got to do a better job, you have to.
And do you tend to deal with controversial and big issues a lot in your music?
Yes, I do. I have a studio in Manhattan, and I'm a songwriter, so I make controversial songs all the time. And I live in Alphabet City. And if you know about Alphabet City on the Lower East Side, that was a notorious open-air drug market back in the 1980s. I lived in the area. I grew up in the area. So, I've been working on a documentary about the survivors of the Lower East Side, that period, that era. And what I do is I interview and I talk to people who lived there, and because it was just the drugs had backed up into the Lower East Side, this area here, to the people that lived here, and it just changed everything. It changed the trajectory of a lot of lives. Good people that lived on the Lower East Side, and we have survivors, and I'm one of them. And so a lot of people, when they speak of the Lower East Side, they want to talk about mostly the good stuff that happened. Just like but I consider myself a historian, so you have to tell the good, ugly, and the bad. Okay, and I bring that into my songwriting too. I'd like to tell the whole story, regardless of opinion and the flack that I get sometimes.
And you're working on a documentary project called Alphabet City, and it explores the lives of people impacted by the drug era in the Lower East Side during the 80s. So what motivated you to undertake that project?
What I witnessed here, I also worked, in Alphabet City for the New York City Board of Education. So I worked in all of the schools, mostly in the area. I worked and lived in the area. So I really got to see, what the devastating effect of the drug market and what it did, to our community here. So this documentary, I want to, what I want to do is I want to give a bird's eye view to people who really never knew what Alphabet City was. So a lot of movies, they made a movie about Alphabet City, but it's nothing like talking to people who lived it. Okay, I don't know. Have you ever heard of Alphabet City?
No.
Side? Well, after this interview, I suggest you check it out. Very interesting. It's on the Lower East Side of Manhattan, and it was just unbelievable. Back in the days, they used to sell wholesale drugs, wholesale. So you had people coming from all parts, of the tri-state area, and even, from other states. They would come down and buy drugs to resell it, and but it destroyed, almost destroyed our community. It was really terrible. We had a lot of transient people come through here, and but like I said, now through gentrification, things have changed here, good and bad. And I document that change by interviewing people, survivors of the scourge of drugs and the violence that it brought upon my neighborhood, the Lower East Side.
And as you're both a musician and a filmmaker, how do you find these two professions intersecting in your work? And are there any challenges or advantages that doing both of them create?
They have, the advantages is, I get a lot of exposure. I just did a project for Clayton Patterson. He is a filmmaker, photographer, famous worldwide. I did a song about him. They call him the Godfather Lower East Side. That's the name of the song. You can look it up on SoundCloud. And it's about his life. He documented it. He made a film called Captured, and it documented life on the Lower East Side because he actually lives down here, and his wife Elsa and himself, they had the camera, and they got it on film. So I got to make a song about his journey through Tompkins Square Park. I also made a song for Rich Allen. Rich Allen's also a filmmaker, famous filmmaker and photographer. He made a lot of film down here on the Lower East Side and took a lot of pictures, of a life and street scenes and stuff. And just there it goes.
Yeah.
Sounds like it's going through my house, right? That's the Lower East Side. But everybody's safe. probably putting out a garbage can fire.
Probably.
They need a job now. But it's really important to document these things for the next generation too. And with my music and with my film, I hope to do that, or something for my grandkids to look back on. And the younger generation, the Gen Z, there's a whole crop of people that never heard of Alphabet City, and like yourself, that need to know what happened here, exactly what happened. And Survivors of the Lower East Side is going to be a documentary that is going to reflect exactly that, what happened.
As you're a musician and filmmaker and historian, is there any other profession that you haven't tried yet that you think you might like to?
Well, oh boy, that's a good question, because my passion is the music and the film. And I was a school counselor. I worked with kids, and I ran a program for children. I like to do more things with children. Now that we have social media and powerful outlets now to try to get funding, I'd like to take a stab at funding a lot of kids, and especially teenagers who, in the inner cities that lay idle, nothing to do, especially in the summertime with budget cuts and whatnot. It's just they just lay idle, and that is the devil's playground. I'd like to get funding to so they can get jobs, do creative things just for the summer, between the hours of 10 and 4, because 10 and 5, because kids get in a lot of trouble around those hours, especially around 1 through 5 or 6. Keep them busy, because I know myself, the most heartbreaking thing for me is I was a youth waiting on a big line and for a job, a summer job, and I was just trying to get my summer to buy my clothes for school and all of that stuff for September, and have money in my pocket, make my own money in my pocket. And there was no job. There were no slots for the job. And that is really heartbreaking for a kid. Fortunately for me, I had a good home life. I had both parents, household. So I had a lot of good things. I was also involved into, my parents put me in the ministry school. So I was involved there, in the church setting. But for those that didn't have that support, I've seen a lot of my friends and acquaintances, go other ways, and go wayward and get involved in things. Brilliant people. I've seen a lot of people with talent lose their lives. Personally, went to a lot of funerals, and some started in youth. I mean, a whole crowd one time. I want to just tell you this. I know time's getting close, but to close this interview, but I want to say this. A lot of my friends, I remember leaving the mobilization for youth when there was an announcement there was no more slots, and they went off to sell weed back then and drugs, and that was a job, and the drug dealers were right there to welcome them, and take advantage and exploit the situation. And I was there personally. I can tell you this. Fortunately for me, my sister and I were outside, and a man named Sal Baker said, "Hey, you know what? I'll see what I can do." And we were working for nothing as he was feverishly trying to get money for us to work. So it was illegal, actually. But he said, just sit tight. And he did get the money. We got it at the end of the summer, but we bare knuckled it. But he came through. But that was an exception to a lot of kids, and it's just terrible. And it doesn't happen have to happen. Your kids, the youth, that's your blood, that's the future. I mean, you have to focus on that or you have no future. So the answer to your question is that I will focus on youth completely and try to get funding, some kind of alternative funding from government, state, whatever. I really push hard, but for the kids to make sure they had jobs, to go on trips, and they're always cutting programs and stuff. But this would be a fund that would just, it would just rehearse itself in sequence every year and be available for children and youth.
Well, in the more short term, what are you working on at the moment in terms of music and other things?
Well, I just finished the Gaza piece and I laid it down, and actually one day I wrote it, and then 2 days later, I was in the studio and put it together. So what I'm working on now is I do jingles also. So I'm doing a jingle for a pizza chain called Stromboli's, and also a graphic design company. I'm doing a song for them. It's a song, but they're going to break it down into a jingle. And those are two things I'm working on now. So that's what I do on the side, and I used to have a full studio in the 1990s, in Manhattan. It's modified now. We don't need all of that big equipment anymore, thank God. So,
yeah.
I mean, it's amazing what I can do now, and virtually too. During the pandemic, I wrote a song called If You Survive the Pandemic, and it was about what we went through and through the pandemic and surviving that. It's a dance song, actually. It's a happy song. If you survive the pandemic, and what I mentioned in that song because during the pandemic, everybody's crazy, not being able to touch someone, not even able to hug someone, right? Very little human contact. A friend of mine and colleague, Peter Smaltz, and I, we pulled off a miracle. We made music during the pandemic. We got together and collaborated with musicians all over the world, and we put together songs. I made a song called iPhone Lover, him and I, and It's Miami, and we did all of this not meeting the artists and musicians. So definitely it can be done. And we put it together. With the miracle of modern technology. We wouldn't have been able to do that 25 years ago.
Well, where are we able to find all your music and documentaries, and in particular your recent single, Tel Aviv to Gaza, Gaza to Tel Aviv?
Okay, you can find it on SoundCloud. My name is Mario Hyman, MarioHyman, Roundhouse Music, and it's on YouTube, also TikTok for now. And I've been filming the documentary for about 3 years now. It's not complete, so I'm going to start releasing some snippets, like a precursor to the actual film. It won't be ready for a few more years, but you can find me on those platforms.
Excellent. Well, many thanks for talking to us. It's been great to have you here.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it. Talking to my friends abroad, and I just hope that someone can get something out of this interview. And at the very least, put the Alphabet City on the Lower East Side on the map and find out what happened and what's happening now. We have some beautiful people down here.